साक्षादरितेन समस्तशास्त्रैः वृत्तस्तथा भावत एव सद्भिः साक्षादरितेन समस्तशास्त्रैः वृत्तस्तथा भावत एव सद्भिः प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरस्य चरणारविन्दम् तो प्रभो प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरस्य चरणारविन्दम् संसारधामानललितलोक प्राणाय पारिण घनाघनत्यम् सकलन गुणार्णवश वन्दे गुरश्री चरणारविन्दम् Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the members of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, who are joined together online to promote the legacy of Srila Prabhupada in his unchanged books, in the lessons from his classes, and in his letters, which are prolific, by the way. It's not a few instructions, but thousands of instructions. Yet somehow people have misinterpreted these instructions, and they've created so many different groups these days based on misinformation. This misinformation campaign has been going on for 40 or 50 years by certain godbrothers of ours who are using the philosophy for their own personal ambition. Yes. And what does that create, everyone, Mother Rochisha, Devi Dasi? Sectarianism. This sectarianism is very common throughout the world. Yes, it is. And many, many religions have so many different branches of their philosophy in the groups that they create. For example, Christianity. Every corner there's a different church. Every corner there's a different prophet. Back in Hamilton, we have a fellow living at my house, and he goes to a church there where the leader is Prophet Tom. Prophet Tom. Well, what's his purpose? To make profit. Not to prophesize, to make money. And that's the business of these gurus in ISKCON. They are fraudulent, everyone. Absolutely. And we do challenge them at any time, any place. Come forward, let us discuss these points so that the air could be cleared and people could be saved from your deception. Yes, their deception. And it's sad. It's very tragic, actually. And my godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and many of us within our group can see it. It's just a disease like cancer. Have you ever had cancer? It's a very educational experience. I know both myself and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu have had cancer. He had cancer of the colon, and I had cancer of the urinary bladder. He had multiple operations, so did I. And by Krishna's grace, he just finished his colonoscopy, and I'm going for a cystoscopy, Prabhu, when I get back from Mexico here in December, to just check and see, is the cancer gone? Yes. His is gone, and by Krishna's grace, I have no symptoms of the cancer. The surgeon cut it out. That's what we're going to do. We are, as a group, all of us, joining together to cut this cancer of the poison that's present in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Cut it out before it destroys everything and sectarianism takes over. Is it going on? Yes, it is. And it's a tragedy because Prabhupada created such a great movement, huh? And he translated these books for us, which are windows into eternal life through transcendental potency of his eternal position as the ambassador of truth from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is that a small thing, Mother Rochisha, Devi Dasi? Is it a small thing that we're talking? Only a few people can understand it. That's a fact. So much confusion. But because, I'll tell you why, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, you know, they don't read Prabhupada's books. They don't. And even if they do, like this Mahatma fellow, this character, Mahatma, they misinterpret everything to justify their personal ambitions for profit, adoration, and distinction. And memorize this, Prabhus. This isn't just a talk for the sake of words. This is a talk of truth, which should be repeated to as many people as possible whenever you encounter them, especially from the ISKCON group. Tell them the truth, and if they don't like it, they can go away and you can go away. This is not a samosa lassi sampradaya, where you go out and give people, oh, I'm going to cook some samosa and give you a lassi. No, this is a sampradaya based on truthfulness. And compromise is not what we're about. And I want to go to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I do apologize for not reading from the diaries. I will be back in Canada. I'm in Yautepec, Mexico right now at Casa Goloka. I'm going to change it to Casa Gokula. I was just reading it in the Nectar of Devotion. Gokula. This is a place, one of our places that we're going to set up as a headquarters globally to establish Prabhupada's legacy without any adulteration. And we're not going to accept people that don't listen. Go away. If you don't want to listen, we don't need you. And you don't need us. It's like rain falling on stones. What kind of result do you get when rain falls on stone? There is no vegetative growth. There's nothing. So Prabhupada uses that example. People have to be receptive to this. They have to listen. They can't always speculate, guess, and ignore the facts. And here are some facts for today. And we want to thank Bhakti Rupesh in Bombay. I'm glad you're back in Bombay so we can get back onto the regular programming that we have for hosting. And we do need people to help us. So if any one of you is expert or interested in helping us with the broadcast of these programs, along with other things that we're planning, please get in touch with us. Please, we beg you. We need more people to help. We're going to go to chapter 6 of the Nectar of Devotion, because I don't have the diaries with me. But I did bring the Nectar of Devotion, and it's been very enlightening, I must say. Srila Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother Sanatan Goswami has compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas for the guidance of the Vaishnavas. Guidance. And therein has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important and prominent. And he will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Yeah. Now, don't misconstrue it, oh God brothers, to mean you who are not an Uttama-ācārya have accepted the role of Diksha Guru. You're a fraud. A fraud. A liar. Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master. Period. In his Vani incarnation. Exactly how one follows the instructions of his spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instructions of his spiritual master, and that instruction is different from the instructions of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of a spiritual master is good everywhere, although the details may be different. Yes, Prabhupada is our bona fide spiritual master, and he is giving us the specific details how to follow this process of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya principles. Not Sridhar, not Narayan, not Jadharani, not Bhagavat. Srila Rupa Goswami does not wish to enter into details here, but wants us to place before us only the principles. Let's keep reading. He mentions the basic principles as follows. Number 1, accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Let's be clear here. Don't be deceived. Becoming initiated by the spiritual master, and there is such a thing as formal initiation. Not you go have a dream and dream that Prabhupada initiated in your sleep. This is all madness. And learning how to discharge the devotional service from him. Yes, learning. Be a student of this process, everyone. Obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Don't change my books. Oh, let's change them, Jayadvaita. You have fallen down, and the proof is in what you've done. Mislead people globally. following in the footsteps of great acharyas, teachers under the direction of the spiritual master. Just repeat what I've told you. Don't change anything. Stop your mental speculation. Vaisheshika. Inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. 6, being prepared to give up anything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. That means that when we are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up, and also we have to accept something which we may not like to accept. Residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan or Kasa Gokula. Dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. And observing the fasting days on Ekadasi, and 10 worshiping sacred trees like the banyan trees and others, and Tulsi Devi. Is that clear, everyone, or is this confusing? Oh, Mr. Guru, Mr. Fake Sannyasi, Bhaktivedanta Purna, you hypocrite. These 10 items are preliminary necessities for beginning the discharge of devotional service and regulative principles. In the beginning, if a neophyte devotee observes the above mentioned 10 principles, surely he will quickly make good advancement in Krishna consciousness. Well, and we're going to read the last section. It's actually very profound. The next set of instructions is listed as follows. One should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. 2, one should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. There's a guy online, Sean Evans. I try to help him, but he doesn't listen. I told Panchagoda, this fellow is a waste of time because he does not listen. One should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. Do they follow that, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu? Do they? These ISKCON gurus? No, they don't. They build their large temples and then they put a 5-star luxury suite in them for themselves to live for free at the work of others. It's a trick. One should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of learning, earning his livelihood by lecturing on or by professionally reciting Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā. That's what they're doing. It's cheating, the cheating business. One should not be neglectful to ordinary dealings. One should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or tribulation in gain. 7, one should not disrespect the demigods. 8, one should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. Fact-finding is not fault-finding, everyone. Oh, sure, we are dissenters, and you may not like what we say, Mr. Rodnath, but the facts must be told so that you will stop deceiving others, millions of others, and misspending millions of dollars in building hospitals and bogus schools called Gurukulas. One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name, we'll read those later, of the Lord, or in worshiping the deity in the temple. Oh, that goes on. In Toronto, Bhakti Marg called the deities statues, and he forced the pujari to open the doors in the afternoon so some Hindus could see the deities during a wedding ceremony. That just went on a few months ago. Statues. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, or his pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Listen to this carefully. Intolerant. Now here we're coming to the essence of this section, and we'll move forward. Without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti, or devotional service in practice. Altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items, and all of them are very important. Very important. Out of the 20, the first 3, namely, 1, accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, accepting initiation from him now in the Ritvik system according to proper rules and regulations to be followed by the candidate, and serving him with respect and reverence are the most important. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement and the teachings of Rupa Goswami, so beautifully presented by him in his book, Nectar of Devotion. Hare Krishna. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, the bhajan that Prabhupada introduced to us before each class. And then we're going to look forward to hearing the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is lecture this morning and reading and discussion with our godbrothers on the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, unedited, unchanged, and unadulterated by the fools in the ISKCON group. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Ācārya Sadasyaman Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacārya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few Sanskrit verses that were introduced by Srila Prabhupada himself when he started to lecture in New York, USA, on the Bhagavad-gītā early on in 1966. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita-Ācārya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabhando Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti. Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We will proceed with our reading of this week's verse. This week we are reading. It should be noted that this reading and discussion is based on the original non-edited, non-interpolated, non-adulterated version of Bhagavad-gītā, the 1972 Macmillan edition. We will be reading from chapter 12, text number 1, all synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktastvam Paryupasati Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yugavittamaha. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Evam, thus, Satata, always, Yukta, engaged, Ye, those, Bhakta, devotees, Tvam, unto you, Paryupasate, properly worship, Ye, those, Cha, also, Api, again, Aksharam, beyond the senses, Avyaktam, unmanifested, Tesham, of them, Ke, who, Yoga Vittama, the most perfect. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna inquired, which is considered to be more perfect, those who are properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Krishna has now explained about the personal, the impersonal, and the universal, and has described all kinds of devotees and yogis. Generally, the transcendentalists can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist, and the other is the personalist. The personalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna, but in meditation on the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested. We find in this chapter that of the different processes for realization of the absolute truth, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the highest. If one at all desires to have the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he must take to devotional service. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly by devotional service are called personalists. Those who engage themselves in meditation on the impersonal Brahman are called impersonalists. Arjuna is here questioning which position is better. There are different ways to realize the absolute truth. But Krishna indicates in this chapter that Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service to him, is highest of all. It is the most direct, and it is the easiest means for associating with the Godhead. In the second chapter, the Lord explains that a living entity is not the material body, but is a spiritual spark, a part of the absolute truth. In the seventh chapter, he speaks of the living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Whole, and recommends that he transfers his attention fully to the whole. In the eighth chapter, it is stated that whoever thinks of Krishna at the moment of death is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, Krishna's abode. And at the end of the sixth chapter, the Lord says that out of all the yogis, he who thinks of Krishna within himself is considered to be the most perfect. So throughout the Gita, personal devotion to Krishna is recommended as the highest form of spiritual realization. Yet, there are those who are still attracted to Krishna's impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence, which is the all-pervasive aspect of the absolute truth, and which is unmanifest and beyond the reach of the senses. Arjuna would like to know which of these two types of transcendentalists is more perfect in knowledge. In other words, he's clarifying his own position because he's attached to the personal form of Krishna. He's not attached to the impersonal Brahman. He wants to know whether his position is secure. The impersonal manifestation, either in this material world or in the spiritual world of the Supreme Lord, is a problem for meditation. Actually, one cannot perfectly conceive of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Therefore, Arjuna wants to say, what is the use of such a waste of time? Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is best, because he could thus understand all other forms at the same time, and there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. This important question asked of Krishna by Arjuna will clarify the distinction between the impersonal and personal conceptions of the absolute truth. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad-vandanam khadyam guru vandana purvakam kshiram sharkara yuktam kadate hi visheshataham adadana strinam dantaridam yachi punah punah srimadrupa padam bhoja dhulisyam janma janmani amsho bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso asmi sarvata tat kripa pikshako nityam tat prishta sat karomi svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chapter of Bhagavad-gītā is a very important explanation of the science of bhakti. We see in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada basically is giving very nicely a summary of what has taken place in the Bhagavad-gītā so far in the first 12 chapters. Now, it is a very important point to understand the distinction between the Vaishnavas and the Mayavadis, or the Advaitins, the impersonalists. The teachings of Bhagavad-gītā does not support the idea that at the end of life, the individual jiva, or the individual soul, merges within Brahman, with Brahman. Brahman means Brahmanohi Pratishtaham. It is the effulgence from the body of Krishna in Vaikuntha, Goloka, Vrindavana. And that effulgence, that impersonal effulgence, is what the Mayavadis, or the Advaitins, the impersonalists, are seeking. They want to merge into that impersonal, formless area. Now, the Bhagavad-gītā, very much in the beginning, if we look at chapter 2, text number 12, there's a very, very important Sanskrit word and a very important Sanskrit line. Krishna explains, Natvevaham jatunasam natvam deme neme jana dipaha nacheva nabhavishyamaha sarvevayam ataparam. Translation: never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. And the third line in Sanskrit, Nacheva Nabhavishyamaha, defeats, this is Krishna himself speaking, defeats the false idea that at the end of life, one will merge into the existence of Brahman. In the purport, Prabhupada explains, in the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, Rupesh has the explanation. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shveta-svatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of God is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityu nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yubhidadhati kaman tanatmastam yinupashyanti dhiras tesham shantihi sasvati netaresham. From the Katha-upanishad 2:13. The same Vedic truth is also given to Arjuna. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, in that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned as well as in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person. In Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual, eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. Now, what is important here is Srila Prabhupada is very clearly explaining the essence of Vaishnava philosophy, which is the clear distinction between the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and the individual living entity. And that individuality does not stop at the time of death, and it does not stop even when one becomes liberated. Now, this is a very important point. Now, what happens in any kind of discussion with these impersonalists, they will claim that these kind of quotations given here from the Katha Upanishad and the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, that these are called Vyavaharika Shrutis, which means they have divided the Vedas and the Upanishads into two distinct several categories. One is called Paramarthika, or supremely important Vedic evidences that support their impersonal idea, and the other are called the Vyavaharika, or which are the less important. Vyavaharika means the mundane or less important Shrutis. In other words, the Vedic evidences which support the personal form of the Lord, Krishna or Narayana, these are less important according to them. And the Vedic evidences, Tattvamasi, Soham, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya, these various Vedic codes, which tends to, according to them, which tends to support their impersonal idea that these are more important, Paramarthika. But when we ask those people, where does it say this? Anywhere in Bhagavad-gītā, or Srimad Bhagavatam, or Vedanta Sutra, or any Shastra. This is just an interpretation, a nonsensical interpretation. Just like in the beginning of our discussion, Vishwakarma Prabhu was exposing various misleading interpretations by certain individuals presenting themselves as authorities in spiritual lives, as spiritual preceptors, as gurus, as teachers, as authorities. And we see by the practical result, Prabhupada, we know, used to often quote, Phalena parichiyate, you judge a thing by its result. We see by the result of this kind of sahaja preaching, so-called bridge preaching, and so many nonsensical sahaja ideas, that the result has not been very good. Sometimes back in one of these readings and discussions, Vishwakarma Prabhu brought the point that the Krishna movement, the ISKCON movement, has distributed millions of literatures in North America. Yet, if you go to some of these temples, they're empty. The devotees are gone. The Gurukul generation is gone. Where did they go? What happened to all these original devotees that helped to build this movement? They were purged out. In the words of one of these masterminds of this political fiasco, this new guru process will purge out all the envious godbrothers and godsisters in the movement. Oh, according to them, right from the beginning, they declared everybody is just envious. I see. So the minute any kind of discussion were initiated, were started, immediately people are labeled, oh, you're all envious. Now, it's a political tactic. This is a political tactic that's been used by dictators, by tyrants, by madmen, by authoritarian figures in the political spectrum all over the world. But this movement is not a political organization. It is a spiritual organization where spiritual discussion must take place, where devotees cannot feel intimidated by anybody who is a manager, that no one has the right to suppress any other devotee expressing their realizations, their questions, their doubts. Everybody does have the right to dissent, because we see that this kind of authoritarianism that took place in 1977 has never been cleared out. It's been perpetuated by another concoction, a voting system, a concocted procedures by which one can become an acharya by vote, by election. Nowhere does Prabhupada describe that. Nowhere. That's why it's important to study every line, to read and to study, to make a complete, detailed, analytical study of Prabhupada's statements. Prabhupada one time complained about my disciples. They don't read my books carefully. They don't read. In 1977, one leader came to see Srila Prabhupada in London, England, in late August, and he brought so many book distributors to see Srila Prabhupada. So they presented, oh, this devotee distributes so many books, this devotee goes in this place and distributes so many books. And Prabhupada thanked them for their services. That's very nice. So Prabhupada then raised the question, so which one of you has carefully read all my books? Nobody raised their hands. Nobody spoke up. Prabhupada, these books are not meant only for selling. These books are for you to study, to learn. Just like one of the points that was made in the beginning of this presentation is that the leaders and the devotees don't carefully read the books. It's just like the Mayavadis. This is a Mayavadi technique. They don't carefully read the Shastra. They don't carefully analyze what the Shastras are saying. They interpret. They have their own interpretation for a political agenda. That's the Rupee Anuga Sampradaya. Rupee is the currency of India. Spiritual life is not meant just to earn money in the dress of a Vaishnava. That is Kali Chela mentality. Prabhupada describes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in one purport, a Kali Chela is one who is only interested in earning money in the dress of Vaishnava. Now, this is a very important point, because many times people are complaining that they've had bad experiences or very negative experiences in dealing with some of the managers of the institution. Well, there's a manager that you can deal with that you're not going to get any problems with, and that's Srila Prabhupada. Get his books, read them, offer your foodstuff to Krishna, offer your obeisances to Krishna, think of Krishna. This is the process that Prabhupada gave us. Well, where did Prabhupada get this process from? Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. Simply from the Bhagavad-gītā. Offering our obeisances to Krishna, thinking of Krishna, dedicating everything to Krishna. Anyone can do that in any part of the world, at any given time, in any condition. Now, we wish and we sincerely hope that the leaders of the official institutions can correct their deviated ways and return back to the original, unchanged, non-adulterated teachings of Srila Prabhupada and stop their nonsense concoctions. This was Prabhupada's concern. Don't manufacture, don't spoil the movement, don't invent, don't deviate. So many instructions, so many warnings have been given, and it's up to the devotees to learn from these warnings of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes I see devotees, this group of devotees or that group of devotees, they're not united. Well, don't be so concerned whether they're united or non-united. All you have to do is individually you follow, you chant, you practice, follow the principles, chant the rounds, and read the books, offer the prasadam, the bhoga to Krishna. And then you will see those who are serious about the process and not interested in this Rupyanuga mentality, Rupyanuga Apasampradaya mentality, there's no problem with those devotees. They're united in the service of Krishna. There's no disunity among the serious followers. Those who are interested in show bottle or personal motivation or simply earning money in the dress of a Vaishnava or big buildings and stones, those people, be wary about them. They may claim to be whatever they are, whatever they're Ritviks or regular devotees. No, these kind of people, they're never going to be united. Those who are serious about the service of Krishna, as given by the Acharya Srila Prabhupada, there's no problem among them, regardless of whether they're living together, whether they're in the same official corporate organization. That is irrelevant. Those who are serious about the process, those who are serious about following Prabhupada, there's no disunity among them. Those who may have some other motivation, then there will always be some disunity. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from California. In our global broadcast of the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me Krishna. And I wanted to discuss about Brahman realization as was presented in today's class. And Prabhupada called it, Mother Rochisha Devi Dasi, he called it spiritual suicide. Very interesting, because people look at Brahman realization as something they should pursue. Like most Christians, they're interested in the light, the spiritual light. They see God as some kind of judge on a bench. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, and they used to present a picture of God as a judge behind a bench with no face. Brahman realization, God is not a person. He's simply an energy, a light. And this is spiritual suicide. Because at the time of death, you want to merge, become one with God. And you lose your individual identity as a servant of Krishna. And you become one, just like the ocean. A part of the ocean has the same properties and qualities as the whole ocean, if you take just one drop and analyze it. So that instead of maintaining individuality, instead of maintaining personality, you become one with God. This is a big mistake. In fact, it's madness for the devotee of Krishna who understands that God is a person. Against non-personality, spiritual suicide. And in the West, everybody is going to hell because of this impersonalism, because more or less it's hellish. How long do you stay in the impersonal void after you die from this body? Well, for time immemorial. How long is that? Well, it's a long time. We don't understand time. We really don't. Satchidananda. It's hard to understand that. Eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Eternal time. We're so illusioned by our material attachments. Yes, we are. And people think, oh, I'll live on. It's interesting, eh? So many people are infatuated with their life. All they do is talk about their past. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. Prajalpa niramagraha, never stop, blah, blah, blah. I made this, I lost that, I went here, I met her, I met him. I went to this concert, I went on this trip. It's all madness. Living in the past is not living at all. It's simply memories. Satchidananda. We are eternal. We are full of knowledge and we are full of bliss. But in the material world, asat. Temporary, achit, filled with ignorance. And nirananda. No happiness. Know it for certain, everyone. There is no happiness in this world. There is none. What we perceive as happiness is simply a mirage in the desert. Simple analogy Prabhupada gave us. We think we'll be happy here. Go ahead, try it out. Let's see how you do. Go ahead. You have independent free will. Do whatever you want. But if you're not aligned with a bona fide spiritual master and you're not enlightened by him, you're lost. And there's so many people that are very confused and very contaminated by their own, and this is an important point, everyone, very contaminated by what? Their false ego, ahankara, that I am the enjoyer, I am the knower, I am the doer of everything. They live in a little world of the material body. Look at this thing. It's almost like, it's ridiculous. It's very beautiful in a certain way. It's very very much a blessing from Krishna to us to have the human form of life. And then you want to commit spiritual suicide and destroy everything and merge into the impersonal void. That's what Prabhupada came here to the West to destroy, impersonalism and voidism. And that's our job, not Radhanath, your job of writing an impersonal Mayavadi book and then distributing it, The Journey Nowhere. Do you think you'll suffer for that? Well, that's up to Krishna. But if you offend the spiritual master, if you deviate at this level of corruption and you influence millions of people to carry on with the Mayavadi impersonalist philosophy, Prabhupada describes it in Sri Upanishad. You're doomed and your followers are doomed to go with you to the lower regions of hell. Deny it. Read the book if you can tolerate it. Read it. Don't listen to me. Read it yourself, and then you do your own evaluation and then determine what side of the bridge you're on. What side of the fence are you on? Are you with them or are you with us? Decide. I know people get upset with me, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, about 5 years ago when we were starting this effort together as partners. It was wonderful. And it's been a wonderful experience, by the way, the evolution of this Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society effort. And it's a humble effort. Of course, we're not looking for followers. We're looking for serious students of our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, to become servant of the servant of the servant of the spiritual master and serve each other in this mission. And this is our business. You know, it's interesting, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, you spoke about dissension. Yes. And how there's a lack of openness amongst our God brothers. Why? Why is there? Because they do not want to get down off their thrones. There's a song by Blind Faith in the 60s, I remember. I used to play it in my band. Come down off your throne and leave your body alone. You must change. These people are on a throne of material success based on sectarianism. We talked about sectarianism here earlier. So many different groups, so many different teachers, so much misinformation, so much lies, and that confusion is all pervasive, and it's a tragedy, my friends. A great tragedy. Look, for example, and when I see Mother Rochicha in Montreal watching the program with great attention, what do I think of? I'll tell you what I think of. I think of Aprakrita. That's what I think of. I don't want to minimize yourself, Mataji, but when I see you, I see Aprakrita. I don't see you. And I miss him. He set a very high example of pure devotional service. He did. And Mother Rochicha is an example of it. She is. And she's taken up the banner. And we thank her. Some people, they say, oh, women, they're minimized in Krishna consciousness. No, they're not. Women are not minimized. I would take your association, Aprakrita's Prabhu's association, over Romeshwar, the compromised, so-called fallen guru involved in a murder and never really coming to the platform of truth. Tell the truth, man. Why are you hiding in Mayapur, pretending that you're some big devotee? Why aren't you humble? Because you don't want to be? Yes. Of course, I'm going to ask Yaśodā to speak in a minute. I want to make one point. There's some countries, even Prabhupada came to America, which is the heart of the Kali Yuga. Yes, it is. The heart of the Kali Yuga. He came to the most degraded country in the world, and he recruited people to join the Sankirtan movement by his causeless mercy under the order of Nityananda Prabhu. that you come to deliver the most fallen. And just see what happened. He elevated all these people. Hridayananda, Jayapataka, Harikesh, Tamal Krishna, Rameshwar, and the list goes on. And who destroyed this movement? These American devotees. Yes, they did. Just like America has been at war for 50 years. Now they're planning to continue to attack Russia and increase the number of bombs and missiles in the threat of World War III with the total destruction of the world. You Americans, devotees, so-called big shots, never liked them, eh? I never did. This Keith Ham. You know, none of you know really my history. I understand that. We don't talk about it. But I did have to serve under his jurisdiction for many years as he was GBC in Toronto. And all he did was try to destroy the Toronto temple. You know what he said, Rochesha Dasi, Devi Dasi? He sent a written letter, said that building is atrocious and should be sold. And Prabhupada sent a letter to me and he said it's a topmost triumph for Krishna. Who's the demon? He was a pedophile demon who murdered devotees. This is what this movement has evolved through to this stage where we're presenting the truth to others to help them understand how to protect Prabhupada's legacy by stop changing everything. That's all you do. And these Americans, Prabhupada said it, suffer from the change disease, Jayadvaita and Dravida. That's you. And we challenge you. Come before us and prove to us, you who can't lead a kirtan, who never opened a temple, who never made any devotees, and you destroyed this mission by your deviant, selfish behavior. Tragedy. And people believe them. Nowadays, they have a rule. You can't sell these original books of Srila Prabhupada, but you can sell the change books. Come on. Come forward, Mr. Objectors, to our dissension. Dissension is very valuable in any organization. You have to hear what people have to say. Just like if you Prabhus think, well, Vishva, you're too aggressive. Yaśodā, you're giving too much information. Stop. You're fault finders. Bring it forward. Let's go. Call me up. I put my number up on different social medias. I type it in. Yeah, call me up if you've got a problem. Does anybody ever called me up? No. In years and years, dealing with tens of thousands of people and not one person calls to have a discussion with a dissenter? No. Go ahead. No, they're hiding in their little world, their closet of deception, the deep state of ISKCON. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further continue.
There's an interesting political term that's been used in America by various politicians. They call it draining the swamp. What they mean by that is the corrupt political elite that profit from the corruption. They call that the swamp. Now, ISKCON has got its own swamp. We call it the deep state of ISKCON. Why has this term been used? Because it doesn't matter what you say, what points you make, what issues you raise, what legitimate arguments you may make, what philosophical discussion you present, they don't care. They don't give a damn. And this is very injurious to people that are serious about progressing in spiritual life and spiritual understanding, to understand Srila Prabhupada's teachings. In other words, people cannot manufacture their own way of following Prabhupada and inventing various procedures that were never introduced or given by Srila Prabhupada. Just like yesterday, I made a comment to a devotee friend. Why is it that they hardly ever do kirtan nowadays with kartal and mridangas? Everything was harmoniums or guitars. Of course, one can chant Hare Krishna. And one devotee pointed out to me, well, Lord Chaitanya says there's no rules and regulation. Prabhupada said you can use so many tools. Yes, that is true. You can chant Hare Krishna under any circumstances. You can chant Hare Krishna in many different ways. That is true. But shouldn't we try to follow the example and the methods that were given by the founder of the Krishna movement, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada? Why invent new ways when Prabhupada is given the perfect way? Prabhupada is given so many different instructions. We know from personal experience that Prabhupada several times would stop the kirtan when it would go totally out of control. He would send either his personal secretary or personal servant and request the kirtan to be stopped. He wanted kirtans to be simple. Kirtan is an offering of devotion for the deities. It is not a show bottle. It is not a rock concert. It is not a theatrical performance. It is not a musical performance. What to speak of some of the kirtans where they invent and manufacture new mantras that were never given by Srila Prabhupada or any of our previous acharyas. This is a very dangerous trend. I want to read a few points here from a conversation that Prabhupada had in Hyderabad, India, on a morning walk on August 27th, 1976. August 27th, 1976. And this relates to the points we were discussing earlier in the Bhagavad-gītā section with regards to the individual soul never merging with the Supreme Soul Krishna. Indian man, if you take Bhaktivedanta, where so many sayings like Chakubai and Namdev, and all these people, if you take it, they observed Bhakti Marg from the beginning. That is, they considered Krishna. Prabhupada, no, they have considered that the Bhakti Marg is a means to become one. Indian man means to become one. That's exactly what I mean. Prabhupada, yes, that is their version, but that is not the version of Bhagavad-gītā. Indian man, yes, it's the only way. Bhakti Marg is the only marg. It is the only way to become one. Prabhupada, no, they never become one. Therefore, Nitya Yukta Upasati. Indian man, then why should we say in our Prabhupada, you can say anything, but that is not accepted. We have to accept Krishna's statement. You can say anything. Indian man, sir, I'm not saying this is what I am taught. Prabhupada, at least you are saying now. So then which one you will take? As you are taught or as Krishna said it? Indian man, merge with the Lord. Mirabai, merge with the Lord. And Chakubai, merge with the Lord. Prabhupada, you bring thousands of examples. Indian man, then what is that merging? Prabhupada, no. You bring thousands of examples, but whether we have to accept them or Krishna. Indian man, I mean, the doubt I'm having, Prabhupada, then you now just become out of doubt. Just like Krishna says in the 7th chapter, Maya Shakta Manaha Partha Yogam Yunjan Madasrayaha Asamshayam. Here is Asamshayam, no doubt. Why you are in doubt? You do not accept Krishna. You accept somebody else. Indian man, not a question of accepting. We're all ignorant in the field. And this conversation goes on. Prabhupada, therefore you are in doubt. Indian man, we have Prabhupada, no. Therefore, you are in doubt. If you want to be doubtless, then you accept Krishna. Maya shaktamanaha parta yogam yunjan madashrayaha. So you have to accept Krishna. If you want to become doubtless, oh, nice. If you want to become doubtless, otherwise you'll be put into doubt. Here it is said, asamshayam, without any doubt. That is the process. And if you want to remain in doubt, you continue. You accept this man, that man, that man, that man, that man. That is your business. But if you want to be doubtless, then you have to accept Krishna, Indian man. So we say in the Bhakti Mart for eternally, the Paramatma and Atta will remain separate entities. Prabhupada, and that is always. You cannot become one with him. Indian man. Then in what levels the man got to remain in a separate entity? Always in the same as Bhakta? Prabhupada, Nitya Yukta Upasate. The one is worshipable, another is worshipper. That's all. Nitya Yukta Upasate. Upasate means the worshipable is there and the worshipper is there. Then the question is Upasana. If they become one, then where is Upasana? This is an amazing conversation, and I respectfully suggest everybody on this screen here in this call to participate in carefully reading this. This is in Hyderabad, India, morning conversation on August 27th, 1976. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. And further, I wanted to elaborate on your point, Prabhu, about the change of kirtan from Madanga and Kartal. If you read it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Lord Chaitanya organized the kirtan groups, there was no harmonium. It was kartals and mridanga, four mridangas, 16 kartal players, and then the dancers. I believe it's that. You can look it up, everyone. We never used to have harmonium in the Toronto Temple on Gerrard Street. Never. It was used for bhajan, but kirtan was, and the kirtans, they're on my website, vishvakarmadas.com. You can hear them, extremely ecstatic. We had a tremendous group of musicians in Canada that joined the movement, Nandikeshwar and Bawadak and other people. And kirtan was our focal point, actually, in our devotional careers that back then. And I wanted to refer, as you said, to these Sahajya kirtans that are going on. Not only do they just put on these theatrical shows, try to become rock stars or kirtan leaders, like this Madhava character with all the hair and the earrings and the decorations, and they pay him $5,000, everyone, to come do kirtan. That's what B.B. Govinda was getting to come to Toronto. $5,000 to come do kirtan. How do I know? He told me. This Janavi Harrison, this lady that's chanting, there was a video on Facebook the other day. I watched it for a couple of minutes. And she's in some kind of theater, having a kirtan. And she's sitting there. There's no deities or anything. It's just them sitting on the stage. I've been on a stage thousands of times, by the way, everyone. I know about being on stage. So I'm looking and I see there's a bass guitar player there. There's a guitar player. There's her on the harmonium. And there's these karmis in the hall. Oh, long hairs and regular karmi clothes, and they're chanting along. And it's exactly what you said, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Also, Sahajiism. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to read about Sahajiism from the Nectar of Devotion. The next section I'm going to read tomorrow, you're going to find very enlightening, very informative. But she's there chanting away, and I'm going, what the heck is this? What is going on? How crazy is this? And they've got a whole auditorium full of people swarming around and, okay. So, guess who gives a response to the chant? Romeshwar, my God brother. And he writes, oh, excellent chanting. Oh, obviously this guy never led a kirtan in his life. That's true, probably. He has never led kirtan. He doesn't know about it. He's never been on stage except the false stage of the guru position on the throne and then fall down. But anyway, he makes a comment. Oh, fantastic. Oh, it's so fantastic. So I asked him a question on the chat, on the post. I said, well, how do you see it as fantastic? I thought I'd just try to find out where he was at. And his response was, Yaśodā, what you had said. There are no hard and fast rules for chanting the holy names. Oh yeah, you're taking a quote. It's true, there are no hard and fast. But there are rules and regulations that we should follow when we're chanting the holy name that Prabhupada gave us. I was in Mayapur, sitting on the second floor when you were there, when they had the kirtan contest. And Prabhupada sent a message from his office on the third floor down to the site to tell Uttama Shloka, stop chanting. I saw him do it in Vrindavan. The same thing happened. Prabhupada didn't like the chanting. He sent a message to the kirtan leader at the Sri Guru Charana Padma prayers and told them stop chanting, and he had him switch to Pragosh. Why? Sahajiism. We got people that talk to me all the time. Well, why are you being so critical? Why am I being? You don't like me. I never said I didn't like you. I'm trying to tell you something that Prabhupada told us personally, and now we're trying to tell you, and then you look at me, you're a fault finder. These people can't connect the dots. They couldn't make $10 if they were trying to run a business. They couldn't attract 10 people to an event, just like Jayadvaita can't. These people have no idea what they're doing or what they're saying, but they think they know. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, Mother Rochisha. And people get carried away with it. Oh, I'm so smart. Look at all the verses I've learned. This is not about that. This is bhakti yoga. Ron Singh in Nepal. How are you, brother? I know Ron Singh is over in Nepal. Maybe you could share some insights on today's discussion with all of us. I hope your microphone's working. Might take a second for him to click the button.
There we go. Yes, Srila Prabhupada established a standard for everything, from the kirtan, for the books, the original BBT edition books, the management of the society, everything and anything that you can think of, he established a standard. So it's up to the responsible disciple or student to figure all these things out. It's very clear, but in proper association, we learn very fast. So anyone who's associated with the so-called ISKCON, they have a very difficult time understanding all these things because they have learned improperly over the years. So Prabhupada gives a nice example that if someone has learned harmonium wrongly and they go to a teacher, first of all, the teacher has to make sure that they forget all the nonsense they've learned, and then they can learn properly. So here we don't recommend people to go anywhere, but ask the questions here, get your answers, and then if you're not satisfied with the answers, go read the documents that Srila Prabhupada had established for the functioning of the BBT, the original BBT, and the Kirtan standard. That's there. Vishwakarma talks about it. Narayan also told me this, that how Prabhupada established a system of Kirtan. So we're here, we're very lucky to hear all these things, because it's not being done as Srila Prabhupada had wanted it to continue after his manifest disappearance. So thank you, Vishwakarma, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhus, for helping us understand all these things.
And I wanted to comment, we'll go to Rochisha Devi Dasi's question in 1 second. I wanted to comment, this is Bhaktivedanta Singh. And so when you see a new person, a new devotee, a neophyte devotee come to the process of devotional service and study and research it carefully like he has, and then be able to articulate it so nicely to everyone, this is a lesson that all is not lost. And thank you very much, Bhaktivedanta Singh, also nicknamed Ram, and we appreciate it very much. Rochisha Devi Dasi in Montreal. Yes, Mother, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
I went on internet to see the calendar of special events, and I was looking for ISKCON Montreal, ISKCON Toronto, and ISKCON Vancouver. And I saw that there is no date of Srila Prabhupada's appearance day and no dates for Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. I was so surprised. Prabhupada established those temples. There is no note of Prabhupada's date.
Well, connect the dots. There's a reason. Because they didn't put it up.
They didn't put it up for
These people
sure.
are gone. These people are lost in their own delusions.
Vancouver temple is called Hindu temple.
Yeah. In Calgary, Gopal set up a temple. He claims it to be an ISKCON group, but it is a completely separate Hindu organization that he used to funnel money to India to build his apartment in these elaborate temples. The deep state of ISKCON Prabhus, the deep state of deception. We're going to end the program with final words from our wonderful God brother, my best friend. And I am the servant of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada. That's Prabhupada's instruction to me. Yaśodā-nandana, please, if you could finalize the comments for today.
I think one of the major points here that we have to take from all these discussions and reading, besides the philosophical issue of the individual position of the individual soul and the Supreme Soul from Bhagavad-gītā, is whenever we discuss these various points pertaining to Srila Prabhupada's original institution, the major point that comes up, and this has been brought to me by a very nice devotee who works as an engineer in America, Indian devotee. He says, why have these deviations come up? What is the reason that there are so many concerns and complaints and questions about deviations from Srila Prabhupada's original standard? In other words, what we're trying to say is that these things should be addressed individually in our own lives, in our own sadhana, in our own spiritual practices, and whenever we meet other devotees, we should inform them about these issues and to tell them not to be victimized by false propaganda. Like Prabhupada one time had a discussion with a devotee from France, and the devotee was complaining about various nonsensical persons in India, professional pundits who were taking money from pilgrims. And Prabhupada says, if you are not strong, you will be affected. Now, strong, Prabhupada is not referring to physical strength of lifting weights and big muscle. He is referring to spiritual strength of practicing the spiritual life, the various regular principles, the chanting, and becoming educated, becoming knowledgeable in the philosophy that has been given, so one will not be victimized by false sahaja propaganda, by political nonsense, by crazy idea, by so-called alleged bridge preaching, by nonsense deviations, which during Prabhupada's manifested presence would have been immediately cut out. Now, because there's so much false propaganda, it has become a problem for bona fide, genuine, serious preachers. They're confronted with a wave after wave of false ideas, and people have to see through this. They have to understand the truth. They have to understand the philosophy properly, according to Prabhupada's teachings. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we're going to wind up the program, and I'm glad you brought up this important point, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, of bridge preaching. It's a very important aspect of our sampradaya. Don't change the preaching. Here, look at this. I've been blessed. I brought some of these books to Mexico here, and I'm halfway through. I'm reading the Nectar of Devotion. I started reading the Perfect Questions. We're planning to do a new book of explanation about Guru Tattva and bridge preaching, what it means, and directing people to read this book in that book. Because Prabhupada here, in these conversations with Bob Cohen, does perfect preaching, no bridge preaching. And if we just learn the principles that Prabhupada is giving in this one book, we'll be able to answer all the questions anybody has about our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. This is how to preach, everyone, not bridge preaching, which is filled with mental speculation and false ego. That's what it is. It's complete nonsense. Perfect questions, perfect answers. Another project that we have, and I see Kanta made a comment. Prabhu, get in touch with me if you're interested in participating in our work moving forward. We have all kinds of things we're up to. And we do need help, just to finish off, with our host production people so that our classes don't stumble. Sometimes we stumble and we apologize for that. Putting on these productions does take expertise, and it does take technical knowledge, and we do need help. So if you're available or you know someone that's interested in being a part of a bona fide mission, the Hare Krishna Society, PDA, Prabhupada Disciples Association broadcasts, please come forward and be a part of this devotional service to Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Yoga in real time. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pirangelo, good to see you, Prabhu. I love you're here. Sometimes I ask you, I apologize. We're not compelling people to speak, just know that. I don't want any of you to feel on the spot. We just want you to feel a part of what we're doing, and then go out and carry out your own devotional service amongst your family, your friends, and others. And that's all that's necessary. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, the bona fide spiritual master living in his Vani incarnation. Let's move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna. Led by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda in 1966. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in the program. Vishwakarma Prabhu from Mexico. We have our good friend Dr. Ram Singh from Nepal, wherever he is in Nepal. The shining light of Prabhupada's teachings is there. And everybody participating, we greatly appreciate your participation. Please come again tomorrow morning from Srimad Bhagavatam at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock a.m. Hamilton, Ontario time and Florida time. And we welcome everybody to come and hear Srila Prabhupada's non-adulterated, original, unchanged teachings. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,